Hello, today we are going to be talking about Rahu, the eighth planet. We already discussed about the seven planets with a physical body. This planet Rahu is a planet which does not have a physical body. It is a shadow planet. And Rahu and Ketu both are actually shadow planets, but we'll be talking about Rahu today. The story is that Rahu was born to Simhika and Viprachiti, and he was known as Swarbhanu. And it so happened as Venus, who's also Shukra, as we have discussed in our last video, was blessed with the knowledge of the Sanjeevani mantra or the Mahamrityunjay mantra, which was given to him by Shiva. So that he could revive the dead people. This mantra was given to him by Shiva actually for the benefit of people, not to be misused at all. However, Shukra, since he became inimical to Jupiter, he started to help out the demons or the asuras, and armed with the strength of this mantra, the asuras or the demons attacked the devas or the suras or the gods. And in the war, whenever a demon or an asura was killed, Venus would immediately come in and he would revive all the dead asura soldiers. So eventually in this war, Indra, who was the king of the heavens, he lost his kingdom to the asuras because they were heavily outnumbered. And when the defeated devas or suras or the gods approached Lord Vishnu for his protection, Lord Vishnu advised them to perform a samudra manthan, which means churning of the ocean. And through churning of the ocean, they would get a lot of things, a lot of divine things from the ocean. And one of the most important divine things which they will get from the ocean would be the amrita or nectar. And once they consume that, they would become immortal. So the devas or the gods or the suras, they decided to go in for the churning of the ocean so that they could get out the nectar and become immortal, so that they can regain their kingdom back from the asuras. However, it was a very, very difficult process, and there was no way they could do it themselves. So they had to take the help of the asuras to churn the ocean. And the asuras also had to be given an incentive that out of the divine things which come out of the ocean after churning the ocean, they would also get a part of it. And the asuras agreed. So eventually what was decided was that Vishnu would take a form of a turtle, and he would support a mountain which would be placed on his back, and the snake Vasuki would be helping them to act as a rope, and it actually will become a churning rope, and the gods or the suras or the devas would hold the rope from one end, which would actually be the snake Vasuki, and the asuras would actually hold the snake from the other end. And then the churning started, and eventually after the churning, various divine things started to come out of the ocean, and the suras and the asuras, or the gods or the demons, they started to distribute it and divide it equally amongst themselves. But the main attraction of the churning, or the main motivation of the churning, was getting the nectar, which was the Amrita, which finally did come out. And both the Asuras and the Suras, or the Suras and the Devas, wanted to get a part of it, so they started to snatch it from each other. And in this process, a little battle ensued between the demons and the gods, or the Devas and the Asuras. And at that point, Lord Vishnu, he disguised himself as Mohini, which Mohini is a celestial dancer and the ultimate beautiful woman, who comes and asks Asuras to sit on one row and the Devas to sit on the other row. And she would be the one who would be distributing the nectar to both the rows, so that it'll be an equal and a very fair distribution. Now, Mohini actually was Lord Vishnu, and Lord Vishnu never wanted the nectar to go to the Asuras because he was in favor of the Devas, or the gods, or the Suras. However, the Asuras could not recognize that the beautiful celestial dancer Mohini was actually not the dancer or the ultimate beautiful woman, but it was Lord Vishnu, who was disguised as Mohini. So what Vishnu did, or what Mohini did, was have the Asuras and the Devas sit on two lines and started to distribute the nectar which came out of the ocean churning equally between the Asuras and the Devas. However, as we know that Vishnu did not want to give the nectar to the Asuras, and what he did was, as disguised as Mohini, and everybody sitting there was so hypnotized by the beauty of the celestial dancer Mohini, did not even understand that the Asuras were not getting the nectar, they were getting liquor or wine. However, the Devas were getting the real nectar, which would make them immortal. There was one Asura, and this is the same Asura we just talked about. His name was Swarbhanu. He kind of doubted Mohini's intention, and because of his suspicion, he came to understand that there is something wrong about this whole distribution system. So he disguised himself as one of the gods or one of the Devas, and he comes and sits in a row where the gods or the Devas are sitting, and he sits exactly between the sun and moon, Surya and Chandra, to drink that nectar or Amrita. And here Mohini is, she is distributing Amrita to the gods or the Devas and liquor to the Asuras. And as soon as Mohini, who was actually Lord Vishnu, gives Amrita to Swarbhanu, and he drinks it, because he wouldn't know that Swarbhanu was actually a demon or an Asura sitting in the row where the other gods or Suras or Devas were sitting. As soon as Vishnu gives that Amrita to Swarbhanu, he drinks it. And at the moment he drinks it, Surya and Chandra immediately come to know that it is actually not one of the Devas it is one of the asuras, was disguised as a deva, and he had the Amrita. And Mohini at this particular point got alerted by Surya and Chandra. Mohini immediately turns himself back into his form as Vishnu with his chakra or Sudarshan chakra, which is actually a discus, which can kill, in his finger, and he releases that discus, or that weapon which he has in his hand, which goes on to cut Swarbhanu's head. However, at that point, Swarbhanu, since he had already consumed the nectar or the Amrita, he becomes immortal, and there was no way he could be destroyed, even with that weapon released by Lord Vishnu. So what Lord Vishnu does is he picks up the head of Swarbhanu and throws it in one direction, and he picks up the rest of the body of Swarbhanu and throws it right in the opposite direction. And this is the story how Rahu and Ketu were created, because Rahu is considered to be the head of Swarbhanu and Ketu is considered to be the tail of Swarbhanu. And in this process, Rahu and Ketu became inimical to Surya and Chandra, or sun and moon, because they were the ones who pointed out to Mohini or Lord Vishnu that this deva who's sitting in the row with the devas is actually not a deva, but he's an asura or a demon disguised as a deva, resulting which Vishnu had to cut the head off of that particular demon called Swarbhanu. So at that point onwards, Rahu and Ketu, as you will see in birth charts, are totally opposite in zodiac signs, 180 degrees from each other, because of this story. And also they become extremely inimical. They become sworn enemies to sun and moon, and these planets or shadow planets called Rahu and Ketu started to cause eclipses. The moon eclipse, when they were in close conjunction with Chandra or moon, they would cause a moon eclipse, and when these planets were in close conjunction with Surya or sun, they would cause a sun eclipse. So this is how Rahu and Ketu was born. This is how they are placed in the zodiacs, right opposite to each other, and this is their nature in terms of providing eclipses, in terms of creating rather eclipses, and their inimical relationship with sun and moon. The gemstone associated with Rahu is Hazonite garnet, and its color is kind of smoky. The metal is lead, and the element is air. So this is the characteristic of Rahu. In Vedic astrology, it is said, there's a saying that Shani-vat Rahu, which means that Rahu behaves like Shani. Just like Shani is a malefic, Rahu is an extreme malefic as well. Just like Shani is an air element, Rahu is an air element as well. And it behaves pretty much similar to Saturn or Shani. However, I mean, they have different ways of expressing their energies. It's different results in different zodiac signs. So you cannot just say that if Saturn or Shani is in a particular zodiac sign, it gives a result. the same result will be experienced if Rahu is also sitting in that particular zodiac sign or in a particular house. It just means that Rahu behaves like Saturn as far as its element is concerned, as far as its malefic nature is concerned. This is what Shanivat Rahu means. In the astrological text, Lal Kitab is a recent Jyotish astrological text, which some astrologers believe in and some do not. However, in that book, it says that in a chart, if Saturn and Mars or Shani and Mangal are conjunct, or are they in a single same house, they have the power of Rahu, or they can be considered together as Rahu, and they'll give the same effects as though Rahu was sitting there in that house. And if Jupiter and Venus are conjunct in a particular zodiac or a sign or a house, they can be treated together as Ketu. So that means that they will be giving the effects of Ketu. Now, as far as the rulership is concerned, Rahu rules over the sign Virgo. That's what is explained in certain text. However, again, there is a slight contradiction because there may be disagreements between astrologers on this. But a generally accepted zodiac on which most of the astrologers do agree is that Rahu rules over Virgo. Also, the exaltation sign of Rahu is considered to be Taurus, and that is as per Sage Parashara. Sage Parashara has very clearly mentioned in his text that the exaltation sign of Rahu would be Taurus, which is the second zodiac. However, again, once we discuss with certain other astrologers, certain texts have mentioned that the exaltation sign of Rahu is not Taurus, but it is Gemini. So there's a slight disagreement here in terms where the exaltation sign. But regardless of the disagreement on the exaltation sign, we know that Rahu becomes extremely strong in both of these signs, which is Taurus and which is Gemini. So in both these signs it becomes extremely strong and it gives its exaltation effects. So that ends our description of Rahu. Friends, we will discuss about another planet in our coming videos.